The Creative East is calling.
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 We all live and work in
Cambridgeshire.
Fenland.
Peterborough.
Norfolk.
And Suffolk.
We are
radio producers,
creative directors,
a graphic designer,
a professional photographer,
a book curator and shop owner.
I'm a designer, illustrator,
An events and marketing manager.
An exhibition and project coordinator.
A creative facilitator.
a choreographer, content creator and activist.
I'm a comedian and writer.
A festival director, a venue manager, a promoter and a musician.
And you can have a job like this here in the Creative East.
So whether you're studying drama, music or art,
Or just interested in being creative.
We're going to show what your creative career could look like.
So you can make a creative career by
curating your own events, curating the space down to the music and poster design.
Radio producing,
Making up dances for music videos.
communicate brand messaging.
designing zines and books and creating your own publications.
Or standing up for what you believe in.
The music industry in the UK is responsible for £5.8 billion of income for the economy.
From booking agents and touring musicians,
to public relations and producers.
it can be a hugely rewarding career.
There isn't much that compares to experiencing the way an audience reacts to your music.
For me, music is my heartbeat. It's the way that I connect to the world around me. So you can explore that through dance, through DJing, through conversation, really. I find it's like an innate part of like the world, something that you can't control it in any way. It takes over you, and that's what I love.
Yeah, so I, from a young age, was sort of in bands, playing drums. We sort of put on our own showcases. We did our own DIY PR. We sort of bought a van and travelled around the country.
When I was younger, I wasn't really told that I could do what I love doing, if that makes sense. And it was only in growing older that I suddenly had this eureka moment that, oh my word, I can combine the things I love.
I think like mainly it's all the different areas, all the different sort of careers that you can find within the broad umbrella of the music industry. So, for example, you could be a performer and a promoter and then maybe a venue director or like a booking agent. And it's all very transferable, so that's quite exciting because it's a really broad industry.
And as you're trying through it all, something will stick and you'll work out, whether it's through conversations, meeting people, a natural affinity for like part of that element, you'll work out what it is that you need to do and then you'll move from there.
And I think it has to be, you have to really enjoy platforming creative expression and other people's sort of creative output. I think being as collaborative as you can as well, networking tons. So I think you have to take it onto your own shoulders quite a bit, especially in the music industry, and work with as many people as possible, learn from them, and then build your own little empire.
It's been like a total pleasure to be part of the Norwich community, to be fair. There's so much support, warm, genuine support that allows you the opportunities to grow safely.
And I think that's part of what the music industry offers. Music's like a creative art, it's an expression, it's a sort of, it's a therapy.
Well, I'm lucky enough to work in theatre and I love stories, and working in creative events means that you get to tell those stories. So for example, this summer we toured round the edge of Cambridge with the show Tales from the Edge of Town, and it was great to connect with those audiences via a live event, because everyone had been either on Zoom or, if they were a child, been homeschooled, and it was great to be making live performance and being there in person. So some of the skills for my role are around teamwork and collaboration. It's really important that when you're putting on an event that you can't do it yourself, so you need to work with a really good team. Working in theatre, we often think about how you begin and how you end, and when your audience arrive at the event, are they excited? Do they feel safe? Do they feel welcome? And it's important that you're really clear on the meaning of the story and why that story is important for your audiences. My advice for somebody starting out in an events career would be to get involved in as many different types of events as possible, to be open to working with different types of people, to learn as much as possible from the people you work with, and to really be open to lots of different experiences. The other exciting thing about events is that it's really clear there's a moment in time when everyone comes together, particularly for a live event. You feel proud that you've been part of a team that's put on that event and created something that hadn't existed before.
Creative people work differently. It can be hugely inspiring to work in a creative studio or office. 1 in 8 businesses are creative, and there are currently over 2 million jobs in the creative industries in the UK. That number is expected to grow by at least another million by 2050.
Illustration is drawing, but it's so much more than that. So illustration is drawing a concept, it's delivering an idea, visually summing up something that's actually quite difficult to do in words. Illustration is bringing an idea to life.
And how did you get into your creative career?
I kind of fell into it really. I took an art degree and then from there I got a job in editorial design and worked really hard on my portfolio and just tried to keep an eye open for jobs that were creative openings. Went from one editorial department to another, and then decided to start my own organisation with a colleague. It's just wonderful to be able to own the space and to expand into it and take over the space. So we play a lot of music and we have a laugh. It's really wonderful to be able to look at each other's screens and get ideas off one another. We collaborate a lot on projects, and I think working in a team in that way has pushed my creativity further than I could have imagined.
Design and publishing is a highly expansive career and industry. For every £1 invested in design, it returns at least £4. It requires rich cultural taste and high levels of attention to detail.
I was 16 and decided I needed to do something within books. I wasn't too sure what. And I was just trying to find my own way, I guess. But I knew that whatever it was, I knew that I wanted to do something that felt creative and felt a bit different, and have always been told, like, don't do a job just for the money, do it because you really enjoy it. So whether you have a degree in something or not, it's okay. There isn't like one path. It's like, actually, you can change what you're doing and that's perfectly fine. You can change your mind as many times as possible.
Heritage is a vital part of creativity. It stands to allow an understanding of history from the past and for future generations to understand the importance of what has happened.
I'm Steve, an exhibition and project coordinator here at the Whipple Museum and History of Science in the University of Cambridge. There are many different kinds of roles in heritage. There's conservation is a role in heritage, and learning, coordination is a role in heritage, and curatorship. So for people trying to get into heritage, I think it's quite important to try and find out what you're interested in specifically to do with heritage. And that sometimes involves, or can involve, for example, volunteering institutions, and seeing what kind of like takes your fancy. So in order to get into a heritage career, often it involves a lot of volunteering over a number of years. One of the things I like about my roles is that I have quite a lot of creative autonomy. We're quite a small team, and we have a lot of, we each take a lot of personal responsibility. The bosses don't kind of like breathe down the back of my necks and what have you. So I have a lot of opportunity to just kind of, if I see that a display needs to be updated, I can just go in there and do it.
A strong community is such an integral part of creative careers.
whether it is documentation, discussion, or the bringing together of peers.
1/3 of jobs in the creative sector is freelance.
So being self-sufficient with a good portfolio and contacts is really important.
Pretty much every single industry within the creative sector. So I've met fashion designers, I've met filmmakers, dancers, theatre people. It's very inspiring to meet other creative people. Half the stuff that I'm doing now I would not have done if I had not met people within the local area just doing their creative thing. Some of the things that I've learned over the last few years is that you don't necessarily need the qualifications to do what you want to do within the creative industries. You can just dive right in and just do it. But just being around that creative environment, you get inspirations, you get advice, and you get so much different things. We're probably the rare communities of professionals that want to see more new people around, and we want to help them.
Because we're drumming, there's usually the dance that goes along with it. So there's other creatives that need to hear the instruments, so that it also helps them be inspired to perform and dance and express themselves. So when you have a well-tuned and well-maintained instrument topped with, a proficient drummer and also a proficient dancer, the magic happens. It's a challenge because people are people, but because of the nature of the djembe, it's for community, and we all have to listen to each other and understand what we all need. I would say I learned these type of skills being a people person. I've taken the time to listen to people and help them with their needs. The reason why I love the drums so much is because they're not only just tactile, they're natural from the earth. Even if you don't know how to properly play these drums, you can connect with your rhythmic sensitivity, and you can connect with other like-minded folk. You can immediately start healing yourself and other people. It doesn't matter who you are. They resonate and can feel the connection with the drum. I think, there's lots of different ways that you can connect with your creative side. My teachers have passed down this opportunity to help me grow. They've seen something in me, and they've realized that for this community to grow, they need to teach me in the right way. What it will give to you is a connection that is unexplainable.
But never in a million years did I think I'd become a professional photographer. It just happened that I was lucky enough to find a position as a trainee photographer. Maybe it was fate, who knows, but I was very fortunate. Every day is different actually, it depends on who I'm working with, working for. I'm actually a people photographer. I like working with people, so the more varied and diverse they are, the better for me. I mean, when you're an apprentice, it's basically sink or swim really. You either go with it or don't go with it. And I worked with a lot of apprentices when I was a trainee darkroom photographer, and loads came and went. And then you progress through the ranks and then become an agency photographer. And then I left to go freelance in Fleet Street at the time, and then was eventually picked up by a newspaper and given a staff job. As I said, I like listening to their stories, I like hearing about the stories, and I like the challenge of depicting their stories visually. It is a challenge, it's quite hard sometimes, but I like putting together a series of images to tell that story, tell one person's story. First of all, if you want to follow an occupation in the creative industry, you've got to be certain that you're doing what you really want to do. There's no half-heartedness about it.
Right now, the creative sector is the fastest growing part of the UK economy.
And prior to the pandemic, it was growing at 4 times the rate of the wider economy.
And with almost 90% of creative industries at low or no risk from future automation.
It's a future-proof career choice in more ways than one.
There is a rising number of creative jobs in the east of England,
with over 24,000 people employed in creative careers across the region.
So find and follow what really inspires you.
Speak to your teacher.
Do your research.
Book a visit to see your local university or college.
And start your creative journey today.
So join us in the Creative East.
This is 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 the Creative East.